Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Vice Media pivoting to video. Are you allowed to say that? Are you allowed to say pivot to video, or is that hate speech now?
Probably. Oh, it's probably hate speech. You're probably right, because who knows? Because it's so nebulous anymore.
A lot of Vice Media journalists have been laid off. We're going to talk about this, kind of a follow-up to another video where we've been talking about the Buzzfeed Vice Vox debacle, where these news outlets have been losing a ton of money. Universal lost, I think it was $100 million on Vice. Disney, or it might have been Disney, lost $100 million on Vice, and then Universal lost on Vox hundreds of millions of dollars.
So after all this time of vilifying, YouTubers and video, their answer is, if we can't beat them, we'll join them. And now they're trying to switch to video. Yeah,
they are, but there are some casualties because not everybody is going to make the pivot. And pivot to video actually has become, I looked into it after the fact, pivot to video has actually become hate speech. It's the new
Are you serious? I thought you were kidding.
No, it's the new learn to code.
Oh my God.
Because pivot to video is a code word for we're going to be laying off writers and hiring more video personalities. So it's become hate speech. So we're going to talk about the fallout from that, that Vice has laid some people off, and the union members are not happy. Now this, I'm going to be honest, I think a lot of these media outlets are deliberately targeting union members to get rid of them, because once they started unionizing, look at what happened with Gizmodo, and you start seeing a bunch of layoffs because they're like, shit, we can't have this because we can't afford to pay you what we're paying you already, and now we can't get rid of you, so let's just buy you out and get you gone. Saw it with Kickstarter too.
We kept saying when they started saying about unions, we're like, oh, this is not going to go well.
That's not going to go the way you think it's going to go. So we'll talk about that. Before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 235,000 subs. Thank you for the support. It's just the two of us doing these videos, and somehow we're holding our own against some of these media outlets, which is crazy. And that just kind of shows you what an equalizer video and YouTube have become.
Which is why they don't like it.
And why I think a lot of these journos spend so much time attacking YouTubers.
You can only listen to us.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I didn't go to school to become a journalist to have other people listen to you.
I didn't spend a lot of time on Twitter talking shit about people to get them fired so I can have their job and have their platform just so they can go listen to you.
Yeah, right. They can't stand it. So they always look for some other angle, whether it's politics or you're grifters. It's like,
oh my God, if I hear that one more time.
You're grifters. You're getting paid to talk on YouTube. I'm like,
so do these people.
So do
They got paid to write about it.
You get paid to write about shit. Who's grifting here, right? At least, the YouTubers have legit views. A lot of these media outlets are, there's some dubious stuff going on, and a lot of them are coasting off of venture capital. They're not actually bringing in the ad revenue. They're coasting off of venture capital. They don't have to
perform. Now they do, but they didn't. For years, they didn't have to perform. They could just say whatever they flipping wanted, because I almost said bad word. Sorry, Mom. They could say whatever they wanted, and they get paid for it. And now the piper needs paid.
Yep. So again, this is a follow-up to a video I did a couple weeks ago. Shifting to video, Vice is laying off its writers. We're seeing it with Buzzfeed. We're seeing it with Vox. All these media outlets. I think we're going to see it with a lot of pop culture outlets too. They're just shutting down their blogs because they're not sustainable. You can't pay somebody $100,000 a year.
But now they want paid to be let go.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Hollywood Reporter put this up a couple days ago. Vice Media union to top executives. Severance terms for laid off staffers are unconscionable. It's really painful to see how the company has handled it this time. A former member of the Vice union tells a Hollywood Reporter.
Oh, imagine that. A member of the union is complaining about how it was handled.
Yeah. Now, look, I'm not anti-union. I want to be very clear about that. I think in some cases unions are necessary because I do think employers take advantage
Yes, I agree.
of workers. However, my feeling on unions is usually when it's an industry that requires a certain set of skills, very highly skilled, like, electricians or plumbers, something like that, or very dangerous work, or they work you a ridiculous number of hours. Being paid $100,000 plus a year to sit in a cushy, air-conditioned office and play video games badly, I don't think requires being unionized. I'm just saying, this is coming from a guy who worked as a journalist.
Yes.
And I remember we actually had a bunch of people working at one of the newspapers. They were pushing for a union. And the reason I'm saying these people were getting gone is because I remember a lot of them got gone because the owner of the paper was like, oh, hell no. Hell no. I can't afford to pay you guys twice what I'm paying you now. You're lucky to have this job, Anyway, yeah. So they said that the severance terms were unconscionable for the 17 staffers at Vice and Refinery 29 who were laid off in late August. Letter sent to top execs, including Vice CEO Nancy Dubach. The committee demanded that the media company increase its severance from 6 to 8 weeks to 9 to 12 weeks for each former staffer. I didn't even get that. I got laid off, and they were like, "Yeah, you get your 2 weeks," and that's
one place didn't give you anything, and you were like a higher level.
And, I was. And
you know why? Yeah. Because it wasn't in your contract.
Wasn't in my contract.
Here's the thing: depending on what they agreed to when they had the contract that they agreed to, if it was set as 6 to 8 weeks, then that's what it was set as. You can't just go and now say 9 to 12 weeks.
On the plus side, there are more jobs than there are workers.
Go for it. Knock yourself out.
You will have no problem picking up a job. Now,
you just won't get that platform, a megaphone, but
go start a YouTube channel. Go start an OnlyFans. There are a lot of things.
We're not going to judge. Knock yourself out.
No, there's a lot of things you can do. Depending on the length of their employment and the payout, the former employees' unused paid time off provisions that the union committee said were given to U.S. staffers during the round of layoffs in 2020.
Okay, so basically it wasn't in the contract they got paid for their unused paid time off, which I think that they should give you that at least.
Yeah, they should give you that.
But I guess it said, but they made these provisions for people last in May of 2020, so you should extend those to now. Well, it was different in May of 2020 than it is now. They're getting laid off now because they're trying to switch to different type. They're changing directions.
Yeah, well, it gets better. So they said, Vice willingly met these terms last year during the peak of the pandemic, while the advertising industry and Vice's own revenue were cratering. The letter said it's unconscionable that the company will not meet the same terms while the pandemic is still raging and federal unemployment benefits are no longer available. There are tons of jobs out there. Literally everywhere you go. Hiring. You were at the one store yesterday. They said, if you work today, we will pay you tomorrow.
Yes.
Like, you don't even have to wait to get paid. Please, for the love of God, work. Vice's business has recovered and is doing better than ever, according to your own assessment. However,
they have said that.
However, the committee took issue with the optics of Vice receiving $135 million in new funding, new venture capital.
Right, because that money should just go to pay these people to have for extra time, to sit at home and not find a job, but they get severance pay.
Yep. But look, this is what they're doing. Pivoting to video. They're taking that money and they're going to funnel it into video projects.
Right. They're going to probably hire people that do that. They're trying to say it's a sexist thing now.
Sexist because 2 were on maternity leave, which is...
They said 15 to 17 were women.
Yeah.
But that just could be that there was a lot more women statistically working there. I don't know. We don't know. It might be, but you'd have to see the numbers.
If you look at the bylines, and this isn't... I don't think this is a sexist thing. I think typically on these kinds of blogs, more women write than men. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of the... especially Refinery 29.
Not always, but a lot of them do.
Yeah, Refinery 29, which is, I think, a women's publication. So, I mean, again, I don't know what went down specifically, but we're going to see more of this. And this is why I think they're so slow to lay people off, because of the backlash.
Right. But the thing is, they may a sexist thing. It could be, but we don't have enough information to make that claim. Responding to the Labor Committee on Thursday, they countered that the severance terms were in line with what the collective bargaining agreement was. And they even gave them extra provisions. They covered COBRA subsidies and allowed employees who are on leave to remain on payroll for their remaining leave period. So they actually covered their insurance during this time, too, so they could get something else. A lot of companies don't do that because COBRA is not cheap.
No, it's not.
And they said they did everything they were supposed to do to help, and they did more.
Oh, God, I remember the one place I got laid off, we had to actually go get a different health insurance plan because to pick up the company insurance was like thousands a month. I was like, oh, my God.
They denied that the layoffs targeted employees from protected classes, because these are women who are in charge. And you're trying to say that the women in charge fired women.
Yeah, this is a woman in charge, I think.
So, and they're talking about they changed the strategy to emphasize video and visual storytelling.
Yep. So this is the thing. And I get people are upset. I get they're upset. Okay. I mean, I'm not, they're talking about, maternity leave and all that. And I don't know the specifics. The bigger story here is that it's not just Vice. It's Vox, it's Buzzfeed, it's Nerdist, it's all these digital media outlets that have spent the last 5 or 6 years blogging. And it turns out that a lot of it was smoke and mirrors. That a lot of these blogs, or at least the salaries, associated with the blogs, it was all venture capital.
Well, we kept saying, like you're chasing audiences off because there's definitely a leaning towards a lot of these places, and you needed to be like more in the middle, more fair, and just report on the news instead of shoving your own politics and using it as a personal platform all the time. And they kept doing it, and a lot of the main players that kept doing it are the ones that are in trouble now.
Yeah, I mean, for years we've heard stories. Disney losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Universal losing hundreds of millions of dollars. BuzzFeed bragging about how, BuzzFeed bought the Huffington Post because it failed.
And they bought it for stock options.
Stock options. They didn't pay money for it. And we saw what happened with Gizmodo, that they couldn't find a buyer for the longest time. Mike, which was one of these millennial media outlets, sold for $5 million. Somebody could have just, an individual could have cut a check and bought all of it. That's where they're at. So yeah, is it unrealistic to expect that you're going to keep your cushy 6-figure job working at these? Basically, the game plan for these media outlets is to take venture capital for as long as you can, stay afloat for as long as you can, and then sell it.
Yeah.
Sell it to some sucker.
And then when that doesn't work, then you pivot. You
pivot to video, which, as I understand, with Vice, it's more about making, because they have a TV station, they have TV content, and they want to get into movies, just like BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed's getting into movies now. BuzzFeed wants to make a Gamergate movie. Like, why the hell do you think that's a good idea on any level?
Yeah, I still don't understand that.
But that's what's going on. So this is not sustainable. But people who, I'm not trying to be a dick, but like, if you've never been in a management position or you've never been a business owner, and you don't see how the economics work, people seem to think that they're just owed these ridiculous high-paying jobs because they're them and they went to school for it and da-da-da-da-da. And the reality is just because you're not sweating the financials doesn't mean the business owners aren't sweating the financials.
In some states, like here, it's a right-to-work state. They can get rid of you for any reason.
Oh, yeah, they can.
And the union seems to, I don't know all the details here, but the union, it seems like they went above and beyond last year. And now they said they were losing money when they did it. And this year they're saying, okay, hey, we're through a lot of that. There's more jobs now and everything else. We're not offering that. And they're having a hissy and they're demanding the moon. And it's like, but unless it was in the contract you agreed to, they don't have to give you anything more than what they've already promised.
So everybody's going all in on video now. People are chasing, social media, TikTok, and all that stuff. And these companies are going to try to cash in because they're going to be like, hey, we got to make money. We got to be where the eyeballs are. And people aren't reading blogs as much as they used to, or at least not your blogs. People are still going to news sites that they trust, but a lot of these media outlets, we were talking about BuzzFeed before. They literally have a clickbait headline generator.
Talk to people who wanted to work for some of these places, and they had to learn to be clickbaity and take quizzes and stuff to learn how to do it.
Yeah, and if it's not profitable, again, you can't expect to keep the cushy job. And a lot of journalists, quote unquote journalists, are in for a rude awakening because you've had it really good for the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years. I would say since like 2013, 2014 is when the venture capital, and again, the long-term plan was always to sell these websites.
Well, 6 or 7 years for things to cycle is about normal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to shift in that time frame.
Yeah, so the pivot to video, and they literally were talking about this on Twitter when they announced Vice was going to pivot to video, that this is, to them, hate speech. It's just like learn to code.
To me, that's funny.
Now,
okay. They were allowed to tell people to learn to code, though. Remember, they were allowed to throw that away around like nothing.
Yeah, but they're like, this is just kicking people when they're down. It's like, no, here's the thing. You, as a journalist who covers news for a living, you should have seen this coming.
But beyond that, kicking people when they're down, well, get in line. There's so many industries that apparently then kicked people when they were down. Come on. You and everybody else.
So this was a thing like 3 or 4 years ago when they started laying people off to focus on video content, and it's back. And I think we're going to see more because they have to survive. And whoever's giving them the venture capital has certain expectations. So it'll be like, okay, fine, we gave you, $200 million and you pissed it away on a blog. we're going to give you another $50 million, but you're going to go make some movies or some streaming shows or something.
And you have to understand too, that the money on these kind of things, whether you blog or streaming shows or YouTube or whatever, there's a lot of advertisers that are paying for these, to keep these things going. And they have a certain set of rules of things that they will agree to advertise on, and they won't. And if you're crossing into things that they don't like with some of your over-the-top, clickbaity bullshit, they're not going to want to put money into advertising on your properties.
Yeah, so what is often used is Facebook, because Facebook actually was overinflating numbers.
Oh, Facebook, yeah. I'll give you that one.
That is 100% true, and the reason they were doing it is they were trying to pull people away from YouTube. Mm-hmm. But they were grossly inflating the video views. And it's also very hard to monetize on Facebook. Like, you have to have a ridiculous following on Facebook to monetize, and it's nowhere near what YouTube has. But then the journalists started running with that, like, well, because Facebook lied, it's all lie. When I can tell you, advertising agencies now are, they're telling them, just put all your money in the video. Mm-hmm. Don't even waste your time with banner ads anymore. Just put all your money in the video. And that's what they're doing. So it didn't work. And I'm sorry, we're going to see a lot of people get laid off. Again, just like any other industry, you got to be nimble and you got to know when to, dip out or find something else to do. I mean, these people would love for all YouTubers to be out of work tomorrow. They would love it.
But the plus side is, like you mentioned earlier, there are a lot of jobs available right now. So if you're going to, you were probably better off do this a month ago. Well, they got laid off at the end of August. Yeah. But earlier to find something else, because now everybody and their brother's scrambling to find something. But, the people were complaining about it, their job situation and stuff, even a couple months ago. And I was like, but now is the best time ever for anybody who wants to go to a different job. Because these companies, we saw places that were paying ridiculous amount of money an hour, just begging people to come. And I'm like, well, hey, if you're...
Service jobs, like $20 an hour to work at service jobs.
I know. I'm like, now is the time. You know, they need people really bad. Get in while you can before they start lowering. Now there's a lot of people looking for work. Yeah. They might start taking some of those options away. Use this time to go, jump to something else or start your own thing.
Start your own.
That's what we had to do. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's really hard for me to muster up because I was in this situation. I did work, marketing and worked in, media and we had to really have much of a choice. If we wanted to do this kind of work, we had to do it ourselves. Go start something on your own.
But it's not easy.
No, it's not. And then you might have a little more respect. Even if you disagree with the stuff that we say, you might have a little more respect for YouTubers that have done it. If you saw how much work actually goes
not just that, starting your own blogs. All these people want to write for these places. Go start your own. Oh, that's hard.
It is hard.
Yes, it is.
It's very hard.
It's very hard. But you know what? Don't sit there and, you go in there and complain and everything, but you don't make any effort to try that because it's hard. You just want to move into a cushy seat and get paid. Mm-hmm. Well, you and a bunch of other people. So
we're going to wrap it up?
Yeah, pivot to video.
Pivot to video. Learn the code and pivot to video.
Yep.
And you'll have a job. All right. Going to wrap it up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.
Bye.